Spring, Chapter 1. On the outskirts of a pretty country village called St. Martin's Green, there stands a large white house called St. Martin's Orphanage. It has been there for many years. An imposing residence, the house has obviously known better days. It has generous tall windows and large high-ceilinged rooms. A black wrought iron railing runs around the front and two sides of the property, and the fourth side has a high stone wall to mark the boundary. The grounds, although not extensive, provide enough room at the back for a substantial play area for the children, a kitchen garden, and a modest orchard close to the high stone wall. The front garden is simply an expanse of green lawn and a drive extending from the gate at the road to the main entrance of the house. The orphanage is managed by a board of trustees, but the principal figure, around which the institution revolves, is its matron, Mrs. Hannah Bridie, a graying elderly woman. She is a widow who has been in charge of St. Martin's ever since the death of her husband some 20 years ago. In her care she has, on the average, 30 children. Apart from ensuring that they receive as good an education as possible, she oversees the laundry, the food, and the cleaning of the home. She maintains discipline and tries to observe and help each child in a personal way. Her day begins at the first light of dawn, and she is never finished until late in the evening. Most people would buckle under the strain of so much hard work, but this plain, good-natured woman seems unflagging in her energies. And although the home is constantly understaffed and she is underpaid, it is thanks to her devotion that the orphanage has a higher reputation than most other institutions of its kind. Mandy had been there for as long as she could remember. She was a bright 10-year-old with dark hair that fell boyishly straight and short around her sweet face. Since she had no known relatives, the orphanage was her home, her whole world. She had many friends and she was much loved. Because she had been at St. Martin's most of her young life, the staff favored her somewhat, and she was given certain privileges and more freedom than the other children. She could be trusted and relied upon. Apart from schooling and a few special duties, Mandy had plenty of time to herself alone. Basically, she preferred to be alone. She was inventive and quick-witted, but above all, she was a dreamer. Most of the time, she lived in a make-believe world of her own. She loved to read. She exchanged books at the local library at least once a week. The wonders of Robinson Crusoe and Alice in Wonderland and Gulliver's Travels were very real to her and offered far more excitement than the reality of her life could ever provide. On Saturday mornings, she helped out at the local grocery store. She was given a small sum of money for her work, and she used it as she pleased. Most of her money was spent on her precious books, and sometimes on paints, crayons, and paper for painting and drawing. Only the younger children at the orphanage attended school on the premises. Mandy, with the older children, was sent out each day to attend the local school, which was on the other side of the village green. Sometimes, after her classes were finished for the day, she wandered slowly home, enjoying the pleasures of the soft countryside around her. She loved the outdoors and everything to do with nature. More often than not, having first obtained permission from the staff, she would go for a walk by herself. She was rarely lonely at such times. The trees and flowers were very special to her, and she knew the names of most of them by heart. Living in her own dream world, as she did, it was never long before she had invented some situation to match her mood, and she was able to occupy herself for hours. But it did not follow that Mandy was completely happy. How could she be? She had neither mother nor father, and not even memories of them to sustain her. She occasionally experienced very disturbing feelings. Sometimes she felt an ache inside that would not go away. It seemed as though her life were very empty. She would cry for no reason at all, seemingly, and it frightened her when she did. She tried to be brave and put away her feelings. "I'm having one of my attacks again," she would think, trying hard not to let people see her tears. Her attempts to keep busy were mostly an effort to fill her life so that she had no time to feel disconsolate. But the nagging sadness was persistent, and it would envelop her when she least expected it. As Mandy grew, her longings grew stronger, and sometimes she felt as though she must surely break apart with so much going on inside her. It was as though she were searching for something, though what or where it was, she could not say.